Hi, Andy Nelson. Recently, I ran into somebody who had been using her trademark for a couple years to sell some really cool products and built up a huge, loyal following. Problem is, when I met her, she had just received a cease and desist letter from another brand owner who said that she had been wrongfully trading on his brand, using his trademark, infringing on his trademark. And the fact is, probably was. The sad thing is, of course, she had to start over. After 2 years of building up this brand recognition, she had to start over. Now, this probably could have been avoided had she done the appropriate search at the outset. Before she adopted her trademark, which she thought was cool and fell in love with, she could have avoided the problem that befell her 2 years later by doing an appropriate search and just making the decision to go to Plan B, whatever Plan B was going to be. So, what you want to do, if you can, is avoid the chances you're going to get hit with a cease and desist letter, or worse yet, a lawsuit. And you can do that by doing I mentioned a moment ago, the appropriate search. How do you do that? 3 ways, okay? 1, search engine. Your search engine is your friend. It's very hard to hide on the web these days. So if you put in searches for the mark you want to use, whether it's a logo, you can put in image searches on, I think, at least on Bing and perhaps on Google as well. You can look for images. You can also look for words, of course. And when I say words, you want to put in the word you want to use. You want to put in misspellings like switch out S for Z, any creative spellings, any alternate spellings, compound words, break them into two words, put them into one compound word, that sort of thing. Look, and see if others are using a mark that you want to use or something very close to it in connection with similar goods or services. If they're completely unrelated, probably not something you need to worry about, but it's going to require further analysis. But that is one way to look. And if you do that, you're going to get pretty far along in terms of the certainty you want that you're either going to hit an obstacle or not hit an obstacle down the road. 2, the United States Patent and Trademark Office. It has a searchable database and that houses not only registered trademarks, federally registered trademarks, but also pending applications for trademarks as well. Doesn't have everything on the planet, doesn't have other marks that are not registered, but it has a lot of them in there. And certainly if there's something there that's a complete obstacle, you're going to know right away and be able to make that decision to go to Plan B. If you're not sure right away, at least you have something to work with, and you can consult with a professional to figure out what your risks are. 3, there are outside companies that have some great software, and there are many of them, so they're very competitive, that will scrape the web and all these dark corners and recesses you don't even know exist to find potential obstacles to your trademark. So what they'll do is for a fee, they'll scrape all these places, provide you a report. You can look at it. You can look at it in connection with your professional. And again, you can make a decision as to what your risks are of going forward. At least you have an idea, and you can properly assess the risk going forward if you're going to do that. Or you can find out, with sometimes absolute certainty and sometimes some fairly good certainty that you're going to have a problem, and you may make a decision to go to Plan B instead based on your risk tolerance. At any rate, so 3 ways: web search, USPTO registry search there, and also an outside vendor can also help you determine whether your pathway is clear to adopt the trademarks you want to use. You have freedom to operate, and then hopefully will give you a little bit of peace of mind so you don't get that lawsuit or that cease and desist letter later on. If you have any questions about this video, feel free to shoot me an email. I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.